Good evening and welcome to Ubuntu channel. And this is Meet Your Leaders, a program that is tailor-made for you to actually get to meet your leaders right here. My name is Chaza, and my co-host Lance Sani Banda is right here with us. Lance, good evening and welcome to the program.
Good evening, Chaza. Good evening to our dear viewers. And of course, it's a lovely Wednesday. Good to be here. Was patiently waiting for Meet Your Leaders on a Wednesday like this one, especially it falling on a very beautiful day, which is, a Women's Day, where women are celebrating their day as well as tackling a very important theme. Thank you so much, Chaza. Looking forward to the program.
Beautiful. And tonight we'll be looking at, the PPP and vis-a-vis the Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway. And we have an expert in this area by the name Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is actually going to give us, the information that we need and probably answer the questions that we have as regards the issue at hand. Mr. Nkoma, welcome to the program and good evening to you.
Good evening, Chaza. Good evening, Lance, and good evening to the viewers out there. And thank you for having me. And may I take this opportunity to wish our lovely women out there, those who are tuned in and those who may not have tuned in, hoping that they had a memorable Women's Day. We appreciate you. We love you. And please continue to do the good things that you do for us.
Beautiful. Mr. Nkoma, just like I indicated earlier on, I only indicated that you are an expert as regards, the PPP. I would like to find out from you, who is Mr. Noel Nkoma? And how do you fit in, or how do you qualify as an expert as regards, PPP? We want information about you, and not only the expert area. We want also to find out a little bit more about you in terms of, family, education, and so on and so forth. Who is Mr. Noel
Nkoma? Noel Nkoma is a Zambian citizen, born in Chipata, or in Eastern Province, 56 years ago. A banker by training, an economist by training as well. I've trained in UK, both my undergrad, completing my postgrad at the Royal Holloway, University of London in Surrey. I have also worked in the banking space for almost 36 years now, having risen from a clerk to become an executive director. Right now, I am a member of the United Party for National Development, and because of my expertise in banking, the party decided to deploy me to serve as board chairman of the Development Bank of Zambia. And I'm also deployed to serve as a member of the Public-Private Partnership Council of Ministers, which is an apex body which is mandated to make decisions over and around PPPs in the country. So I think maybe to kickstart this conversation, I will be able at some point to break down what the PPP is, so that even a person who may not appreciate what a PPP is will be able to understand. I am married to my wife of 35 years, Alice, and I've got 3 lovely children. 2 of them are economists, working, one in the banking sector, the elder one, Maria, David, working in government, And the last one, Noel, who is now pursuing his yearly qualification as a lawyer. So in the long and short, that is Noel Nkoma.
Sir, you look younger, far younger than you have given us. What's the secret?
Hmm. I exercise a lot. I play a lot of golf. I'm a golf addict, I should call myself. You've seen the way I'm dressed. I'm coming from playing golf. And golf, basically, I play 2 or 3 times a week, depending on my work schedule. And every round of golf, I walk minimum 7 kilometers. So this is a sport I've enjoyed for almost 30 years now. And I also am a workaholic. I've also served at in the golfing fraternity as captain of the and CEO of the largest golf club in Zambia, the Lusaka Golf Club. And I later on moved to serve as president of the Lusaka Golf Club until my term came to an end last year. So I really do a lot of golfing, I should say.
Beautiful. We get to learn from you. Lance, you had it for yourself. The secret of remaining forever young. At this
Thank
point in
you.
time, Mr. Nkoma, I would like to find out, just like you indicated in your preamble, that later on you shall give us information as regards the public private partnership, what it is, and whatever surrounds it. What is PPP? It appears people are talking about it, but they don't know what it is exactly and what surrounds it. What is this
Okay.
issue?
Yeah, I think let's first start by breaking it down.
Mhm.
First of all, the Public-Private Partnership Act was passed many years ago. If my memory serves me right, it was passed towards the end of the administration of the movement for multi-party democracy. And I think for those who may be interested to know that PPPs have been with us for a long time. Now, PPP stands for Public-Private Partnership. Now, what does that mean? What it basically means is that the public, any member of the public, you can be a person, an individual, a company, as long as you are not part of government, you can partner with government to be able to invest in a project or basically undertake some kind of an investment in a project where government resources may not be available or may not permit. Now, what do I mean? First of all, like what I said, the PPP concept has been with us because there's a law, there's an act. That is how the PPP Council came to be established. Now, maybe before I go to break down what the PPP is, let me just make you understand what is this animal called the PPP Council of Ministers. By operation of the act, it gives powers to the Republican president to appoint what you call the Public-Private Partnership Council of Ministers. All right. Now, the act also dictates which ministers who serve in a certain portfolio qualify to be members of the PPP Council of Ministers. And in this case, the president appoints 5 of his ministers to serve on the council. And who are those? The Minister of Finance and National Planning serves as chairperson of the council. His deputy or vice chairperson is the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development. In this case, the Minister of Finance and National Planning is Honorable Dr. Stumbeko Musokotwane. Then the vice chairperson, who is the Minister of Infrastructure, Housing and Urban Development, is Honorable Engineer Charles Milupi, MP. Then you have got other key economic sector ministries. To start with, the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry. Honorable Chipoka Mulenga, MP, sits on the council. Then there's also the Minister of Science and Technology. Honorable Felix Mtati sits on the council. Then you have got Honorable Minister for Transport and Logistics. That is Honorable Frank Tayali. Then the President, within the powers granted to him under the Act, he appoints 4 independent experts to complement the 5 ministers from members of the public who, because of their skill or special skill, experience, qualifications, they fit the profile to be appointed and considered on the council. And in this case, the president has appointed 4. One of them, Mrs. Margaret Mdenda, who's a very senior, renowned lawyer, previously served as Director General of Zambia Information Telecommunication Authority, ZICTA. Then you have you have Dr. Abraham Wenda, who has served at the highest level at the World Bank as a senior executive director there. He has also served as deputy governor of the Bank of Zambia. You have Mr. Mkela Muyunda. Sorry, I forgot to mention, Dr. Abraham Wenda is the current board chairperson for Stanbic Bank, Zambia. You have Mr. Mkela Muyunda. Mr. Mkela Muyunda is the current board chairperson for Mapani Copper Mines, but he has served as managing director for Zamtel. He has served as chief executive officer for ZCCM Investment Holdings. And myself, sorry, pardon me, I'm just recovering from a flu, so
okay.
We have these interruptions time and again here. Now, what does PPP do? Let's look at the Lusaka dollar dual carriageway. Let me give that as an example. The president, in his campaign promises, he promised to deliver the Lusaka dollar dual carriageway. Now, there is a history behind the Lusaka dollar dual carriageway. You will recall that 3 years or so before PF lost power, they signed what you call a traditional procurement or a direct procurement. What in the under engineering terms, they call it EPC. I think it's engineering, procurement, and construction. I'm not an engineer, so I may get it wrong, but you just have to understand. The total contract value was 1,245,000,000. Sorry. Now, out of this amount, they were supposed to do the Lusaka dual carriageway. They were supposed to do things like hotels and maybe bypasses through Kawe, Kapiri. Then there was also, I think, a few kilometers of township roads. The members of the public raised alarm to say the amount was ridiculously high. But after that, the PF government went ahead to pay $30 million as down payment to do this road. Let me say it, not even a single kilometer has been done, right? $30 million has vanished. Yeah, sorry. Excuse me, just take some tea.
Sure.
Yeah, so now, President Hakainde Hichilema said, I want to deliver this road, but we don't have money as a country. What we do, we now got a directive as a PPP Council. Can you explore the possibility of putting this road, a very important road, the heartbeat of the Zambian economy, on a PPP financing model? Now, let me make it very clear. This is not the first PPP that has been done. There's, I think, Rubama Market, which has been done for 65 years, right, under the MMD government. There is also the Kasumbalesa border concessioning, which has just, the period has lapsed. I think it was 18 years. Only last week, the government was, the concessionaire was handing back the Kasumbalesa border concession. So this is not the first PPP. During our term in the last 1 year, we have signed 2 PPPs. One is the Chingola Kasumbalesa expanded, and some portion dual carriageway, which is a very important road again, for somewhere just around $87-90 million, which right now, as we are talking, the contractor has mobilized, is on site, the works have started. Excuse me. So we are talking about things that have been tested, they are working, right? I gave an example of Kasumbalesa. Have we not handed back the concession? Yes, it has worked all these 18 years. Lubama market is still working. Now, what is a halabaloo around Lusaka dollar? The halabaloo is simply politics, because the PF failed to secure the funding that they thought they could get. And what do? Because UPND administration, under the leadership of His Excellency President Hakainde Hichilema, has managed to pull it off with less than 50% of what PF had signed for. So what do we mean by a PPP? Let me come to it. The government has identified an asset which needs to be worked on. Government has gone out to the public. It was advertised. Those who have got money, there's an investment opportunity here. Come and partner with government to deliver the Lusaka and Dollar dual carriageway. That is what is made by public-private partnership. The public being your government, our government, because our government has got an asset. So what are they doing? They're contributing an asset to a private party, public-private. And government is saying, we want this road to be done, bituminous grade, high grade, waterable, but you tell us how much it will cost you to be able to deliver this design of the road, dual carriageway. Then what happens? The private party looks his numbers, looks at the design, the engineering, all these things that go into engineering, and said, okay, I want to tender for this road. I'm prepared to spend or to invest $700 million in this road. Mind you, the contract amount is about $649 million. We now said as a council, is this the best offer we have got on the table? Mind you, this thing was opened up. Over 7 companies bidded for this. There was a preliminary evaluation, which is independent of the council, but all key line ministries and departments are involved, including the Drug Enforcement Commission, Anti-Corruption Commission, and most importantly, the Office of the President, Special Division. All these are part of the preliminary evaluation. From there, it goes to technical evaluation. It's another committee again of highly competent civil servants drawn from different ministries, including the Road Development Agency, including the Ministry of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Ministry of Finance, PPP unit, all those who believe, who the government thinks forgetting the Ministry of Justice, because there's everything legal around the framework of this structure. So now, it has been almost 1 year painstaking, going through the documents, going through the proposals, going through the reports, and the much important due diligence. And the technical committee came to the council, which we sit now as president's appointees, and said, council, we think the best offer is from XYZ. We looked at the best offer and we said, okay, what about these other bids that fell off? Can you also give us a brief? They gave us a brief and we satisfied ourselves that this was the best offer to deliver a high quality road, which will be in a good condition throughout the period of the concession. In this case, 3 years of construction, and 22 years of periodic routine maintenance and repair. So much so that Lance and Chaza, if you're on that road going to Ndola, you see a portal under the what you call the service level agreements that have been signed. There should be no portal for more than 48 hours. So which basically means that the concessionaire using his satellite, what you call site offices along the road should be able to repair that portal within not exceeding 48 hours. 48 hours. So it tells you that there's value that is being proposed to be delivered at a cost which is less than almost 50% of what PF wanted to deliver. And mind you, this amount of $649 million, it includes the principal, interest, and all financing costs, right? PF was going to deliver this same road at almost $2 billion because the $1.245 billion was only the principal without charging the interest and other financing costs. So now, what do the Zambian people want? Zambian people want development. How is that development going to come? It comes in different forms. It's infrastructure, it is job opportunities, it's empowerment, and so on. All they're interested in is development. And the UPND government is saying, here we are, we don't have the money, but we have partnered with this private party, a consortium, to deliver this road. Right now, Chaza, Lance, you may be interested to know that the PF government borrowed money from NAPSA to do roads, selected roads and targets. And one of the roads I can tell you is the Chingola Solwezi Road. But look at the condition of that road. Does it speak to value for money? In my simple answer is no. Go to my village in Chipata. From Chongwe, excuse me, you are paying targets up to Chipata. Look at the state of the road. Potholes all over. Is that value for money? No, it's not value for money. But what we are saying is that because it's government, we don't care. We want a private party to maintain these roads at a condition that should justify your paying of toll fees. Thank you.
So, Mr. Nkoma, we apart from these things that you have highlighted in terms of maintenance of the same roads and so on, would like you to go a little bit deeper in terms of the terms and the conditions that are around this particular PPP. What is it like? What is expected of the concessionaire and also from the government?
What is expected is that the concessionaire, first of all, is mobilizing the finances, right? That is what we call under PPP financial closure. Now, one of the things that you have to understand is that when we were doing the evaluation, we looked at the technical evaluation. This consortium, do they have experience to deliver this kind of an infrastructure project? We looked at them. Who are the members of that consortium? We looked at them. One of them was AVIC, right? Who is AVIC? We looked at the background. Yes, they have delivered infrastructure and roads. There's also China Railway. Who's China Railway? It's a state-owned enterprise of the government of the Republic of China. They have delivered massive infrastructure projects. Do they have the technical expertise? Yes. They have got the technical expertise, which is engineering. Do they have the financial capacity to be able to deliver? Yes, we looked at their financials, their balance sheet, the combined members of the consortium who have got billions of dollars in assets sitting on their balance sheet, right? What are we looking for? We are looking for this consortium to deliver a project for just under $700 million. Do they meet the bill for this? Yes. So what are the considerations? The consideration is that they had the technical and financial capacity to be able to deliver the road. And secondly, let's talk about this elephant in the room called NAPSA, workers' compensation, and so on. First of all, the concessionaire was prepared to raise the entire amount of financing out of China, right? And maybe Chaza and Lance, let me also make a very important statement here. The European government has been accused of being anti-China, right? That they are more aligned and leaning to the West, meaning the US, the Europe, and so on, and they are isolating China. Do you know that the Macro Ocean Consortium, almost all the companies involved are Chinese state-owned enterprises? AVIC is Chinese state-owned. China Railway is state-owned. So what are people talking about? We are still doing business with China. We are still enjoying a fraternal and mutual relationship with China. So it is important for people to understand that what benefits the people of Zambia is what this government is interested in. Then, having fitted that bill, the president himself came to us and said, Council, I know that this consortium has got financial muscle to be able to pull resources out of China at a blink of a second. But I want Zambian participation, all right? I want Zambians to also take ownership of this project. We cannot have the entire consortium of foreign engineering and contracting companies and the entire financing coming out of China, meaning that when it comes to repaying this loan or the paying off this finance, these people will be externalizing 100% of the monies to China. That's when the president said, can you please ensure that there's Zambian participation? We opened it up to the consortium. I said, can you also find other interested Zambian participating entities, whether they are banks, whether they are investment funds, whether they are pension funds, so that there can be some Zambian ownership. Some money can be retained internally so that the people of Zambia can benefit, not everything being externalized. Because mind you, everything being externalized puts pressure on the foreign exchange reserves. So what he said, fine, you guys have got muscle, but can you leave not less than 50% of the financing to Zambian appetite? That's how they have been looking at
Mr. Nkoma. Mr. Nkoma, just
yes.
Mr. Nkoma, just where you are there. So then,
Yes.
this, Zambia's, participation, of
Yes.
what benefit is it? Because you have indicated that if Zambia's, entities could not participate, then money would have been going to China. Then,
Yes.
how beneficial is Zambia's participation, in the concession? Is it?
Okay, let me just break it down for you, Chaza. For example, the total bill is $650 million. The consortium has put on the table $270 million. They are not going to wait for this money coming out of these other Zambian entities. They are ready to mobilize and start doing the road like yesterday. Now, how beneficial is the Zambian participation? If we mobilize domestically, let's say $490 million, right? Or $400 million, because $270 million is coming from the China consortium. What it basically means is that if you are a pensioner sitting on the NAPSA fund, you are going to get what we call a diversified portfolio mix. Mind you, NAPSA has got a diversified portfolio of investment. NAPSA, like what I said to you, they have invested through National Road Fund Agency in road sector. But the question we should be asking ourselves, is that portfolio performing? I cannot answer that. But from the little I know, it has not done well. Why? It's because it's government to government, right? Because NAPSA, notwithstanding that it's deemed it's a pension fund, by virtue of the fact that it's a creation of government, the other government entities are looking at it as a government to government, right? So they can arm twist the interest rate, they can dictate when they want to pay and how much they want to pay. But by NAPSA going into this kind of financing arrangement with a private party, NAPSA is independent of any government interference, because ultimately NAPSA is not going into a financing arrangement with the PPP council. They are going into a financing arrangement with an independent private consortium, so they can be able to negotiate and leverage their financial muscle to get the best interest rate return. Now, if NAPSA is able to get a high return in terms of interest rate, what does that do to the investment, to the pensioners? It means that Chaza and the Lance, when you retire, you want your pension fund, the money should be readily available. In fact, at a much, much bigger figure than probably you could be getting now, because NAPSA would have expanded its portfolio and getting that much needed profit or yield on their investment. Are you with me? NAPSA has invested in shopping malls. Have we taken time as Zambians to do an audit? What is the return for NAPSA on these shopping malls? There's some shopping malls which NAPSA has invested in, which probably occupancy is not even 50%. NAPSA has invested in hotels, which hotels are not even that performing. But can you imagine the Lusaka and dollar dual carriage, the opportunity that it offers? Because the Honorable Minister of Transport and the Logistics was the other day saying the current traffic on this road per day is in excess of 10,000 vehicles. In the state that the road is, can you imagine a road which basically will be expanded as a dual, motorable throughout 25 years or 23, 22 years? You now, Chaza and Lance, can say, instead of me waiting for the 7 hours flight to fly into Ndola for business and only wait for the 17 hours flight, which means the whole day is gone, I can drive into Ndola at 6. I'm in Ndola at 9 o'clock, have my coffee, going to a meeting at 9:30. 1 hour the meeting is done. 10 o'clock I hit the road. By 1 o'clock I'm in Lusaka. Can you imagine the efficiency that it brings? The bus operators who are struggling on this road because of the condition of the road, they take maybe 6 hours. Their travel time will be cut by 2. What does that also do? It's the economies now, which basically you are pushing up the GDP because people are able to transact business in a shorter time, reduced cost of maintenance and repairs on vehicles. You can imagine. So there's so much economic benefit that this brings. So let us not look at NAPSA as an investor. Let's look at what NAPSA is likely to gain out of this investment. Let me pause a while for them.
Mr. Nkoma, you've dominantly talked about NAPSA. We've also heard about workers' compensation. Is it true both of them are actually part of this funding?
But first of all, let me qualify one thing, Chaza and Lance. The arrangement of funding is not a mandate of the PPP Council. The funding is a mandate of the concessionaire. So the concessionaire has to make what you call a business call onto these pension funds to be able to agree on what kind of funding or financing they require. So at this stage, I am not aware of any financing proposal which has been signed off. All I know is that there's been an expression of interest which has been presented to workers' compensation and NAPSA and 1 or 2 banks to participate as per the directives of the president for Zambian entities to be able to participate in funding this road. And mind you, maybe I should also emphasize one point. This is not the first kind of private equity investment that NAPSA has done. Mind you, NAPSA invested in Marco Polo, right? NAPSA invested in Marco Polo. NAPSA, I believe, has also invested in Ilovo Sugar. This is a private company. So NAPSA has got a duty to ensure that they spread their risks around their investment portfolio. Because if one investment collapses, NAPSA should have a fallback on 10, 20 other investments which are performing. So this basically is it's an investment decision to spread the risks.
Mr. Nkoma, the lifespan of the concession, you indicated that construction time is 3 years and a number of years, for the, investor to collect from the toll gates. So I would like to find out, is it 100% of the collections, or is it a certain rate given to the investor, and for how long precisely is this going to be? Because there's been an outcry, because the way going around is that 25 years the investor will be collecting from the tolls. Please clarify on this one.
There's what you call a revenue sharing mechanism, which has been agreed between the PPP Council and the concessionaire. And I think it is graduated. I think it's starting as low as maybe 1.5% or somewhere there in the first year. Then as the traffic is ramping up, it begins to push upwards. So that by the time that the concession is coming to an end, it will be inverse, meaning that the government will be collecting more than the concessionaire, because at that time the loan, the financing cost would have been paid off, and any other what you call attendant cost would have been paid off, and the government will now be in a much stronger and commanding position to be able to get a bigger share. But I think what is important is to also quantify the quantum. By the end of this concession, the government is expected to collect not less than $1.4 billion. This is in taxes, in revenue shares, and so on and so forth. So now you can imagine Chaza and Lance there, $1.4 billion, a road in a good state and condition, and a road which you are not paying for, but the motorists are paying for it, which is the case even up to now. Motorists are paying for, are made to pay toll fees for roads which basically are not being maintained. The potholed road. Now, what we are saying, let us change this narrative. Let us deliver value. If you're going to pay a toll fee, it should be a road where you can even close your eyes, drive for 5, 10 kilometers without finding a pothole. That's what we're saying. So Zambians have already adapted to the culture of paying toll fees. So what is different about this? The only thing that is different is the fact that we are now bringing in value and accountability to those motorists who are paying toll fees.
Beautiful. For the viewers out there, listeners out there, this is Ubuntu channel, and you are following or watching Meet Your Leaders. And tonight we are looking at the PPP vis-a-vis Lusaka Ndola dual carriageway. And our guest tonight is Mr. Noel Nkoma, who is actually giving us information as regards the topic at hand. In case you'd like to join us, follow the link that has been shared in the comment section there, and you definitely get to join us on site. Or just in case you have any contribution or question, you can simply get to type in the comment section, or simply click on the link that will lead you through to the site right here. In the meantime, There are few messages that I can read through. Okay, Mulungu Ruben saying, great program there. And Martin Mubaraki saying, watching from Lusaka. We invite you to join us on the program. So, Mr. Nkoma, I'd like, to find out, you've touched, on the issue of NAPSA or workers' compensation, that, they are free to invest in, in undertaking because that is to their benefit and the benefit of their members. Maybe there's a member out there who's worried and saying, out of my money, they would invest in the dual carriageway. What if, this project doesn't work, and so on and so forth? What's a guarantee, to the contributor, to NAPSA, that their money is actually safe?
Okay, first of all, NAPSA has got what you call an investment committee, which is guided in the investments through what you call the investment guidelines that have been set. And mind you, NAPSA has got diversified streams or portfolios of investments. So from what I know, I'm not speaking for NAPSA, but from the little knowledge that I have, is that NAPSA does not take exposure, meaning they cannot invest more than 10% of their cash book at any given time into one particular project, right? And in this case, the Lusaka Ndola dual carriage is one project. So if their cash book is, let's say, $100 million, this is just for argument's sake. NAPSA, according to the investment guideline, this is the little information that I know. I may be right, I may be wrong. Please do not take this as gospel truth, but I'm just giving you something which I am now speaking as a banker, which I understand, is that in any particular single investment, they will probably take 10% to be $10 million, right, of $100 million. So this is the only amount that they will be able to make available should they decide to invest in that project. So that alone addresses the fears that in case this project fails, how is my investment safe? There's 90% which has been also untouched, sitting out there. So at the end of it all, this project cannot fail. This is the heartbeat of the Zambian economy. If we are having 10,000 vehicles on this road, in the current state and condition of the road, what more when the road is dual? Don't you think that that traffic volume will double? Every day, there are new vehicles which are being purchased by Zambians, not in hundreds. I mean, not in single digits, in hundreds. Every day, vehicles are being sold to Zambians. Every day, a Zambian is upgrading their lifestyle to get vehicles. So if you look at the motor vehicle statistics, then you look at it now and project in the future. It will tell you that by the time this project is reaching maturity, we shall probably have a traffic volume much higher than the current 10,000 motor vehicles. So the long and short of it is that this is not a project that you can expect to fail, because this connects two important towns in Zambia or provinces, Lusaka, where the decision makers is, and the economic heartland of Zambia, which is the Copper Belt.
Mr. Nkoma, having said so about the projection and these numbers that pass, in these roads on a daily basis, people are saying 25 years is too long a time for the investor to actually, ASAP from the tolls. Why not 7 years, 10 years? Is it not enough?
Chaza, first of all, you must understand, this is private capital. The investor is taking a risk, right, in the investment. Zambia currently is in a default economy, which basically means that there are very few investors out there who would want to take a risk by investing in an economy like Zambia, which is in default. Now, when you are negotiating with an investor, who in this case is called a concessionaire. There are many factors that you take into account, right? One is that if you want to shorten the period of, let's say, 7 years, and look at the quantum of 649 million, can you bring the best mathematician that you can find, Chaza, to tell me that within that 7 years, this investor will recoup his principal, interest, and any financing costs, right, within 7 years, without having a bearing or an impact on the toll fee? Mind you, let us understand that a toll fee is the price, there's price sensitivities around the toll fee. Tomorrow, if this investor says, okay, if you want me out of here in 7 years, to give you a road in 7 years, then I'll dictate a toll fee. I want 50 kwacha per car. How many people will be able to afford? So let us not be simplistic about issues, but be rational in terms of how we think that this will happen. If government had borrowed the 1.245 billion, I stated it in my opening remarks, it was not going to be free lunch. They would have paid closer to $2 billion, principal, interest, and any other financing charges. Who would have paid that money? Right now, we are struggling with a debt crisis. Zambia has defaulted on its debt. So an investor comes and says, I want to do this, but for me to be comfortable and to also respond to your concerns around the cost of travel, right, vis-a-vis the toll fees, I think that I'll be comfortable for a period of 20 to 22 years. Chaza, there's a market here which you have given for 65 years for a far less investment than $649 million. Maybe that market was an investment of $10 million or $15 million. But you, meaning you and me, being the owners of this government, through the Lusaka City Council, we found it fit to give a concessionaire a concession period of 65 years. Does that make sense? Definitely, the answer is no.
Mr. Nkoma, there's a concern that this, yes, indeed, you are very clear. Instead of going the route that, we have gone in terms of the PPP, why not, get money from NAPSA, borrow money from NAPSA, workers' compensation, and give Zambia National Service, ZNS, and do the road? Wouldn't it be as profitable compared to this undertaking?
Chaza, in my opening remarks, I gave you an example. When last way on the Chingwara Solwezi Road?
It's been some time, personally.
Yeah, just call any of your relative who has been on that road recently. That road is an example of a government-to-government financing. NAPSA gave money to National Road Fund Agency, who in turn, I think, gave a contractor to do that road at a colossal sum of money. Does that road speak to the value of the money that was invested in? The answer is no. Right? Mind you, Zambia is not the only country which has taken this PPP model. South Africa, almost all roads, all key roads connecting provinces, the Johannesburg to Pretoria, the Johannesburg to Maputo, Johannesburg to Durban, Johannesburg to Cape Town, all those are PPPs. You meet those targets there. Are the South Africans complaining? No, because the roads are in good condition. The roads which you are seeing in South Africa, which have got potholes now, on these major trunk roads, are those where the concession has expired and the government has taken back the roads without a maintenance plan. So what do we want? Let us understand that sometimes that which can be done well by the private sector, leave it to the private sector, right? President Chiluba kept reminding us that government is not good in private business. Let us just create an enabling environment for the business, private sector business to thrive, to prosper, because those are the ones who create jobs. If you are going to give this road to Zambia National Service, with all my due respect as a contractor, what guarantees are you going to have that if tomorrow government got NAPSA money, workers' compensation money, and gave it to let's say RDA, that RDA will be compelled to pay, because they will have no pressure whatsoever to pay. But this is private money. NAPSA will simply knock on the door of this concessionaire. Hey, I want my bill. Fair to which, if you don't pay, I call the guarantee. So there is every reason to believe that the road, the way it has been structured, private sector is the best to deal with it. I asked you a question, Chaza. I said, have you taken time to understand how the loan which NAPSA gave to National Road Fund agencies is performing? Find out. Then you'll be able to find an answer for yourself.
Right, Mr. Nkoma, we have a couple of questions from the people that are following out there. I have this, message coming from Wallace Mioba, who is saying, "Evening to you all. The arrangement by UPND government to repair Lusaka and Ndola Road is the best for any Zambian who means well for the country. The road, as we speak, is a death trap. We need this road like yesterday to operate. It is very vital road. It is a very vital road for country economic development. The contract costing 749 million is a brilliant deal. Well done, New Dawn." Thank you so much, Mr. Miyoba. We greatly appreciate for that contribution. And another one coming from Professor Lance Promotions. Okay, saying, "Will this mean that it's possible for this same private company erecting 2 new toll gates to put up their own price against what motorists are already paying?" Yeah, thank you so much for that question. And just to add on to that question, will the concessionaire, have the liberty to actually manipulate or, raise the toll fees at any time? How is the arrangement like? Well, what are the terms like in terms of the toll fees?
Thank you so much. Let me just start by commenting on Mr. Miyowa. Thank you so much, my brother. The amount actually is not $749 million. It's $649 million. So indeed, I think one of the things which I've not done a good job on is to just bring it to our viewers. How many casualties, fatalities have we suffered on that road? Mind you, Chaza, Lance, life is priceless. You cannot put a price on life. We have lost so many people who had so much to offer and to contribute, not only to their families, but also to the country, which they loved most, which is Zambia. Now, if you look at it from that angle, you indeed can only not agree more with what Mr. Miwa is saying. So let that also be another point of consideration, not only issues around the cost and NAPSA, which is preoccupying many people, and the politics around it. No. This is value for money. Government is not paying, not even a single way, not even a single dollar, but we are going to be delivered an asset. Mind you, when the concession period ends, the Chinese are not going to carry this road with them to China. No. The concession for Kasumbalesa border has ended. If you go to Kasumbalesa, are you not going to find infrastructure there? You will find infrastructure. Has the facility not been handed back to the Zambians? It has been handed back to the Zambians. ZRI has taken control. They are collecting the revenues for trucks going into Congo and coming to Zambia. So what we should be saying to ourselves is, let us learn the countries which have achieved so much through PPPs. The top, just Google, the top country which has done and achieved so much through PPPs is Brazil. Brazil is the #1 in the world. Brazil PPPs is almost $500 billion. Followed by Malaysia, right? Followed by China, followed by Turkey. Turkey is number 4. We just came back from Turkey. We have seen what amazing and transformational, economic transformational projects that have been undertaken through PPPs, including rail systems. So let us not think that this is an alien concept. No, because we have seen it work in other countries. We have also seen it work here in Zambia. That is why we are saying government doesn't have the resource envelope to be able to do roads. The little money that government has, let them do Chadiza, Chipata Chadiza Road, Chipata Vubwi. They should also be doing roads in other parts of the country, which may be in dire need of repair. Coming to Professor Lance, no, what we have done in the concession is to put what you call a biannual, right? Biannual tariff or toffee review, basically, which will be informed by 2 variables, one being inflation. This, to me, it will also be intended to safeguard. But I think there's also a ceiling there that any adjustment should not exceed a certain threshold in terms of the percentage to be able to safeguard the pricing because of the costs or price sensitivities around it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nkoma. We do have a contribution in terms of the question from Chibonta Jule, who is actually saying, what is the average current annual income from toll gates? If multiplied by 25 years, what's the amount compared to the contract cost? Thank you, Chibonta. We greatly appreciate for that question. I do hope that Mr. Nkoma has gotten it. Mr. Nkoma, did you get the question?
Yeah, it's saying that how much is the current collections on toffees, right? Just repeat that question for me.
Okay, what is the average current annual income from toll gates? If multiplied by 25 years, what's the amount compared to the contractual cost?
Well, it's difficult to tell now because the toll gates, the whole country, I don't know how many toll gates we have, right? But if you're talking about the Lusaka and Dollar, currently I think we have only got 3 toll gates. But in the new plan, in the new dual carriageway, mind you, there's a bypass. I think from Fisenge going up to Rwansha there'll be a toll gate there. That road will be done as a bypass Ndola for people going to Rwansha or for people going to Kitwe. So I may not have the current what you call it, the current toffees that are being collected, but from the permutations that were done, we believe that the 25-year concession will, to some certain degree, guarantee what you call price sustainability, right? There should not be a major spike for the price, which basically results from the pressure for the concessionaire to be able to collect their monies and recover their investment and so on. So I think, to me, that has been taken care of. But if I do anything, like what I said earlier, is that any adjustment cannot breach a certain percentage threshold, which has been embedded in the concession.
Beautiful, Mr. Nkoma. Yes, that is very clear. And, you and myself had 1 hour. And looking at, people's participation, I think I have exhausted the questions that they had. I'd like to give you an opportunity to, we have another question from, yes. Does the PPP committee and this government have the plan for this same road in terms of maintenance after getting it back from the private company, in seeing that it doesn't go to deplorable state again, and think of another PPP for the same road? This one is coming from Professor Lance Promotions.
Okay, Professor Lance, that is a very, very candid and important question. And I think to us as Zambians, we must learn. And we must learn that I gave an example of South Africa, that if you see some of the roads that have become deplorable now, is those where the PPP concessions have lapsed and government has reverted to government. So I don't have anything against government, but I think government is not the best manager of business. So I would still insist, I'm not the final decision maker, that when this concession lapses, government should go out again and tender out for what you call a routine maintenance and management concession, right? Routine management and maintenance concession for a period of, let's say, 10 years, right? So that the road continues to remain in good motorable condition. Because this road has got a life. I can't remember how much, whether it's 30 years or 40 years or 50 years. But I think looking at the condition of the road at the time of the end of the concession, it may be 50 years. Then after 50 years, you need now probably to redo the whole road, which means that at that point, you may decide, those who have been in government at that time, whether the monies that they could have collected in toll gates, whatever, in toll fees, is sufficient for them to do an EPC, which is a traditional contracting, or go back on the PPP model. But from where I'm sitting, I think the private concessionary model is the best any given time.
Mr. Nkoma, maybe there are questions that we haven't asked you, we haven't touched the areas that may be of concern, especially from your perspective. Your last words as you get to summarize, or the aspects we haven't discussed.
Well, to me, what is important, to my colleagues, my fellow Zambians out there, I would like to say to you that this is a concept that has transformed countries' economies. This is something that has worked in many countries, including our own neighboring South Africa. I'm told Zimbabwe now has done a beautiful road under PPP from Beitbridge into Harare. Beautiful road. So these are things which are working. We should now be having a conversation to say, PPP, well done. Can you give us Lusaka Livingstone Road? Give us Lusaka Chirundu Road. Give us Lusaka Mwami Border Road concession. So that our country, like what the president keeps on reminding us, should not be landlocked per se, but it should be land-linked. And land-linked can only be achieved through this same model. We should be now having a conversation. The Lusaka Mongo Road, which is in a very deplorable state. The road which I think connects the Sheke, is it Kazungula, or connecting into Namibia, and so on and so forth. This is how we can be able to foster development. I think there's one more question there, Chaza. Maybe you can read it as I summarize.
Okay, Soldier Boo Enoch Tonga saying there are assertions that some senior UPND members have serious personal interest or shareholding in the contractor of the project. Your comment?
To be honest, Mr. Tonga, my brother, one thing I can tell you is that these are Chinese state-owned enterprises. I don't know how a Zambian person can be allowed or given shares by the Chinese government into any of these entities that are part of this consortium. There's been a rigid and robust due diligence that has been done. And according to our knowledge, there's no Zambian who is part or a member of this consortium. So all I can say is that if at all there are any Zambians who are participating or working with the concessionaires, it must be consultants, it must be engineers, it must be people maybe providing various kinds of services. But in terms of maybe shouting, I can probably state with a very clear sense of conviction that I'm not aware of any.
Thank you so much, Mr. Nkoma. You have, been struggling a cough here and there. If it were another person, they would have told us they wouldn't make it for this interview. But for you, you spared your time despite that. We greatly appreciate.
Thank you so much, Chaza. Thank you so much, Lance. And thank you so much to everyone in the studio. Yes, to me, I thought this is a very important conversation. And I did not want to lose this opportunity. But I think what is important, let's keep engaging. The UPND government is trying by all means to be as transparent as we can, because we keep on reminding ourselves that the moment this transparency culture disappears from our radar, then we know that we're headed for trouble. So let us ensure that we don't only open the doors for anyone to come and check what we are keeping in the house, but we should also open the windows so that there's nothing being hidden. Everything is being laid on the table. In that way, we are going to pass the most basic or minimum credibility and integrity test. I just thank you so much for this opportunity, and let's keep engaging.
Beautiful. Listeners, viewers out there, we greatly appreciate your time for being with us right here on Meet Your Leaders on Ubuntu channel. And tonight, we were hosting Mr. Noel Nkoma, an expert as regards the PPPs, and we were in particular looking at the Lusaka dollar dual carriageway. My name is Chaza, and my colleague Lance has the connectivity challenges, but on the other side, you're still with us and participating on the program. Thank you, Lance, and thank you so much, the viewers out there in particular, Mr. Miyoba, CJ, Tongabu, and many others that I may not have itemized. My name is Chaza. Till then, we are saying, God bless you all, and we are out of here.